Hello everybody and welcome to today's project. We are talking about the signs you are progressing towards your anxiety recovery goals. Now, what does that look like? Now, there are many signs, but I just wanted to compile a few of them so that it'll help you understand, if you're on the right track, if things are going well for you. But like noticing the wins is a really big thing, because we always pay attention to the failures, especially when you're suffering for a long time. The mind is always going to the worst case scenario. So let's look at the structure of the day because our days are consisting of so many small micro routines, hundreds of routines, right? Because the body wants to automate us as much as possible. Okay, so you're bounded in a frame. Now, this frame is what's known to you, is what's familiar to you. It's almost like what's automated to you. But the frame helps you keeps you safe, right? It lessens anxiety. That's why we're bounded up in walls. That's why we have walled cities. That's why we have walls in our homes. And it's familiar territory that is well explored, and that where it mediates anxiety, it lessens the anxiety. But imagine if you take away the walls and you're completely in the unknown, then it's just chaos. It's too much information to pay attention to. Your anxiety system is revved up. What happens? You freeze automatically. You're in a place where you have no idea where everything is and how to navigate this terrain. And that makes total sense. So imagine that, your frame is very, I would say it's weak, and it's not bounded nice and tightly, but you're in anxiety mode. Well, someone in anxiety mode, what happens is that, obstacles pop up. Right? Obstacles pop up, the unknown pops up, and it freezes them. And then what happens is that they go, I don't know where I am. The frame that I thought I inhabited is not what I thought. And so at this point, what they have to do is navigate themselves into some familiar territory. What do anxiety sufferers do? They obsess about their symptoms. They obsess about how they're feeling. And that's the brain trying to comprehend and make sense and build a frame around this unknown space that you are in, potentially, day after day and month after month. And it's not a great place to be at all. So you have an obstacle, and an obstacle produces negative emotion. It's what gets in your way of your goal-directed behavior. Now, how upset should you be when an obstacle pops up? You should be upset in proportion to the time and energy it takes to solve the problem, right? And so when I was suffering from anxiety, there was a whole host of snakes that I had to contend with. So imagine, for me, back then, day in and day out, I was ignoring responsibility. So I was hiding a bunch of snakes under the rug. And then also what I was doing was I was engaging in habits, so automatic habits, reflexive habits like smoking weed, or reassurance seeking Dr. Google, or it was having a drink of alcohol, or just staying up late, or it was just roaming around listening to music. I was kind of living very free, and there's no bounded frame and free, right? It's like, oh, anything goes, anything is, it's like, let's ignore responsibility, living on Pleasure Island. Peter Pan meaning everything, right? Like, you're the king of everything. It's like, well, that's just too much to grapple with. So being the king of anything is, well, that's not a great place to be, man. So negative emotion, what gets in the way? Okay, positive emotion, well, it's an indication of you're getting to where you need to be. So a sign that your anxiety is lessening is that you're getting these 1% wins every day, and these wins are stacking up. and you're recognizing like, hey, like, look at me go. Like, I never used to do these things. Or you're taking care of the snakes around you. So taking care of one snake at a time will get you to where you need to go. Now, why is that important? It's important because each snake, because like, you come to me and you're like, oh, I'm suffering from anxiety, and you're telling me to clean up a little bit of my room, or you're telling me to clean a little bit of my car, or you're telling me to do a meditation every morning or a journal practice every morning. It's like, how's that going to get rid of my anxiety? And I'll tell you something, what that does is you're doing something that you don't want to do, but you're also dealing with a snake, all right? And you set the snake high enough so that you can attain the goal, right? Because you don't want to go up here and be like, I want to run a 10K marathon and I have no anxiety right now. It's like, okay, yeah, right, like, really? So setting the bar just a little bit, a goal where you can get a win, you can get a dopamine hit. A dopamine hit is so important because it actually adds energy to you, so to motivate you to go out and get the next win. So you need to get a small win in order to get the next win, and then the next win. But the quality of your immediate surroundings is a direct reflection to the quality of your own mind. So imagine like a messy room, and you're saying, I'm suffering from anxiety, I need to get rid of this now, and you're doing all these coping strategies. Well, let's start with these small wins. Clean up a little section of your room, see how you feel. That's your win for the day. And people will go, oh my God, they start to be like, yeah, look at me go. Once they start to get these kicks, right? These dopamine kicks. So that's why it's really important to look to your surroundings, and that's a direct reflection of your mental state. You have to get these small wins. You have to tackle all these snakes. And a lot of the time people freeze when it comes to anxiety recovery because they're like, oh my God, I have so many snakes to contend with. How am I going to wrangle and wrestle with all of these? And then I say, well, start with the one. You have to start with one. I know it's a lot. That's what happens on Dr. Google. You go on Dr. Google, there's an infinite amount of information and possibility. Now, what do you do with that information? It sends you into immediate anxiety mode. Too much. There's too much content to wrestle with. Too many possibilities. Oh my God. I don't know. So that's what I mean. You have to set the bar. You have to have one goal. So with anxiety recovery, that was my goal. And with that, I went forward with, learning about anxiety day in and day out. So that is the first sign that your anxiety is lessening. You're gaining these small wins, and you're looking at the week and you're saying, hey, look what I did this week. I got this done, I got that done, and I got this done. It's like, the week before, I wasn't getting anything done. It was just anxiety. It was just me in bed. It was just me trying to get through the day, doing what I do best, coping, and dragging myself around. But now I'm facing things that I don't want to do, but I'm doing it anyways because I'm bypassing this voice in my head that's saying, you know what, you're not good enough. You're just gonna suffer forever. You're weak, pathetic, and you know what? You're proving that voice wrong, and you're proving your old self wrong. The second sign your anxiety is lessening is that you're feeling more awake and energized. And you're doing things that activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest system. So you're doing things like meditation. You're calming down the body. That's something that you never did before. You were just putting fuel onto the fire. Now what you're doing is you're giving back to yourself. Maybe an hour before bed, you're just sitting with the pain. You're sitting with the discomfort. You're writing down your schedule for tomorrow, so that anxiety is not as profound as it needs to be. And then you're taking probably a hot bath with Epsom salts. You are lessening your revved up system, and this is huge. The next sign that you are lessening your anxiety is that you feel more control in your circumstances. That when you start to get these small wins, you go, okay, I'm capable of much more than I thought I am. And then you go on to get the next win, and then you start to realize that your body is also capable of much more because you're doing things that are outside of your comfort zone. I used to, starting this journey, I was reading books, and I was not comfortable with reading books. I had ADHD, right? I couldn't concentrate for more than like 5 minutes, but I forced myself to sit down and read 10 pages and then 20 pages and then 50 pages, right? And it was something that it was like training a dog. And so for me, going out into the unknown and being uncomfortable, I realized that this was the path forward. Because afterwards, I would feel this dopamine kick. Like I would leave the library and I would go, well, look what I did today. I never used to do that before. That's pretty cool. Or taking a cold shower for the first time was not fun because I was suffering from health anxiety. And what happens when you're in a cold shower? Your fingers start to go purple, and it's a lot. You're starting to breathe more heavily and your skin goes red, and your heart starts to beat a little bit faster, and you go, oh my God. Well, I certainly went like this. I was like, oh my God, is this healthy? What am I doing to myself? Am I gonna die? Look, my fingers are purple. Oh my God. But then the more I would do it, the more my brain made associations. Okay, cold showers, even though my fingers go purple, even though this happens, I'm not going to die. I'm going in anyways. It's like me facing death in the morning. I go into the cold shower, and it's like I'm getting, I don't feel that, great when I'm doing it, but afterwards, I'm feeling awake. I'm feeling good about myself. Like I faced something that was way above me that I couldn't get to, and so I was starting to feel more like I could do anything if I put my mind to it. So stepping outside of what's familiar and stepping into the fears is what's necessary for growth. And that's where I'm going to leave you on today's video. Thank you everybody for being here and watching and leaving your comments below. I really appreciate all the love and support you guys are giving. Please share this with somebody who could be suffering from anxiety. You might just change the trajectory of their life. Rise above anxiety. I'll see you next time. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and that bell so that whenever a new video of mine appears, you will be one of the first to know. Namaste.